Candlepin Stars and Strikes is brought to you by the Thompson family of dealerships in Nashua, New Hampshire, and by Tri-State Megabucks and the New Hampshire State Lottery, helping New Hampshire schools one ticket at a time. WNDS Sports presents New England's favorite bowling show. From Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Featuring the best bowlers from around the region. Candlepin Stars and Strikes. And now your hosts, Dick Lutz and Mike Morris.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dick Lutz with Mike Moore, and it is week 2 of our 5th ladder series. And we had a terrific match last week, an impressive win for Joe Stella over Ed Woodside.
Joe Stella, former Rookie of the Year, as is his opponent today, Craig Holbrook, Rookie of the Year before he was, 87 and 88. Joe had his rookie status, 88, 89. These guys go way back. It'll be a great match today.
It was 401 for Stella last week to Ed Woodside's 357. Joe Stella starting out of the number 5 seed, moving up the ladder to take on number 3 seed Craig Holbrook. Let's meet our bowlers this afternoon. Last week's winner, our number 5 seed from Winthrop, Massachusetts. Let's say hello to Joe Stella.
All 3 of his games in the 130s last week for a 401, average 125. High single is 201. Joe's high triple is 486. Bowls, of course, at Central Park Lanes in East Boston.
And a 645 in the roll-off to earn the number 5 seed, a 401 triple last week in his win over Ed Woodside. He will take on our number 3 seed from East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Let's welcome Craig Holbrook.
With 10 WCBC titles, Craig Holbrook averaging 130. High single, 196. High triple, way up there at 505. And Craig Holbrook out of East Bridgewater bowls at Hanover Bowl in Massachusetts.
And Craig rolled a 683 in the roll-off to earn the number 3 seed. It's Joe Stella and Craig Holbrook. We're coming back for this afternoon's match right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Here's a look at our 5 bowlers who began this ladder series. Last week, Joe Stella defeating Ed Woodside. Craig Holbrook, the number 3 seed, John Zappi and Jeff Surrett waiting in the wings, and Joe Stella will be first to bowl here this afternoon at Leda Lanes, a 401 last week in his win over Ed Woodside. We are underway.
The 1 and the 2 with no wood to get in the way. A straight ahead shot, but he'll go too far to the right. And it's a 10 for East Boston. Joe Stella, I should say, Winthrop. He bowls in East Boston at Central Park Lanes.
I mentioned last week how I thought Joe was on target, and he said after the match he thought he was off.
Well, he hit that target a little too full, punching out the 1-5 and the 8. So it's a spread eagle with a sleeper over on the right-hand side. Very consistent last week. Games were 130, 139, and 132 as he puts the ball right through the hole again, and still 7 pins standing.
And it'll be a 7 box for Joe. And now our first look in quite some time at Craig Holbrook.
Yeah, gosh, when was it? About 3 years ago, I do believe. A lot of backdoor action for Craig, leaving the 1 and the 2 with some wood between the 2 pins.
Craig was on our very first show, huh?
Yep.
Missed the spare. 1997. He'll take a 9 box. This is our 6th year of doing Candlepin Stars and Strikes together, Michael.
Hard to believe we're almost at the end of the season. Got another 6 weeks after today, and then the Tournament of Champions begins in April. We have 4 bowlers. We'll be adding 2 more to a field of 6.
6 years together, and we're still speaking. Spare for Holbrook.
This marriage will probably go on forever, Dick, whether you like it or not. Drawing first blood is Craig Holbrook as Joey Stella steps to lane 34.
Crossed over to the Brooklyn side.
That was a much better looking hit than the pins would indicate, leaving the 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Open for 3 boxes in a row. Chris Sackos from Billerica, Massachusetts writes in, Michael, rather lengthy email. We won't get to all of the points in it, but one of them is kind of interesting. He says since he sees the name Brunswick on a lot of bowling machinery and bowling equipment, was bowling founded in Brunswick, Maine, or Brunswick, Canada?
Now it's the Brunswick, sports company out of Muskegon, Michigan. So there's no connection to the towns or cities of Brunswick. There was AMF and Brunswick as the two major producers of bowling equipment, not necessarily Candlepins. And locally, the Bowlmore Corporation, which of course hasn't been in business for many, many years, made a lot of the Candlepin machines that you see today. There are some non-Bowlmore machines, but these things are workhorses, and they seem to go on forever.
As I understand it, there's nobody really making Candlepin bowling machinery any longer. It's mongrelized, and they're just taking old equipment and keeping it up to date.
That's exactly what's happening. When bowling centers go out of business, as we know, many of them have, a lot of the machinery is sold to other proprietors who want it for parts, the lane beds, the wood. Sometimes, like the bowling center in Londonderry, I believe some of the lanes were shipped off somewhere to New York State to, I think, become a 10-pin house.
Craig Holbrook missed the spare. $10, 37 through 3, an early lead over Joe Stella.
Boy, he gets a lot of action. Almost doesn't matter where he hits. Got a little bit wild starting off here, missing the head pin, but still 1, 7, and 9.
Our email address, by the way, which you'll see on the screen during the course of the match, is bowling@WNDS.com. As Holbrook gets his second mark of the string, we're getting more and more emails. We still love to get your letters through the mail as well. And you can communicate with us at WNDS TV, 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire, 03038. Nice shot by Joe Stella. Picks up his first mark. It wasn't an easy one either. That was kind of a mess, actually, and he made the shot. And he throws a half Worcester.
That's discouraging. You make a difficult spare and then fill it with only 2.
Have another half Worcester inquiry in this pile of emails. He almost converted it. He converted a half Worcester spare in the first string. Of course, the origination of the term half Worcester, a team from Worcester bowling a team from Boston, and losing the match, the team from Boston told the team from Worcester they were halfway home to Worcester.
Right, when somebody punched out and somebody in the gallery yelled, "Hey, you're halfway home to Worcester already with that shot." And it stuck. Almost to the point of being an urban legend, but the story keeps resurfacing from a number of different sources. So you got to believe that it's a true story.
9 for Holbrook in the spare. Missed the spare. The left-hander with a kind of a right-to-left approach starts way back on the right side of the lane. 10 bucks.
Well, Dick, he is the second winningest bowler in WCBC history. Of course, Tommy Oath, to 17 titles, still by far and away the most successful competitive tournament bowler. But both he and Peter Flynn, Craig Holbrook and Peter Flynn, another great lefty, both have 10.
There's a strike. The 5-pin was reluctant, but finally coaxed over. Third mark of the string, first strike for Craig Holbrook, and now Joe Stella with some work to do, finding himself trailing in the early going. And he throws a good ball.
He had real nice rotation on that shot, and even though he hit the head pin rather thinly, he got a real nice pinfall.
And The spare for Joe Stella, picking up the 2-pin. Second mark of the string for Joe. He put a deuce in his first mark with a half Worcester.
He didn't dominate last week, but he maintained the lead almost all the way through. In fact, I think he pretty much led wire to wire over Ed Woodside. Nothing flashy, but a 401 triple last week with 3 games in the 130s.
Missed it. Little too thin on the head pin. Not able to convert. (83-8) for Joe Stella. Craig Holbrook with a 130 average, a high single of 196, a high triple of 505. I can't imagine it.
No. That's a 168 average for 3 strings.
Right on the head pin, full on the head pin. Tough shot here. 4-7 on the left, 6 on the right, wood in the middle. Has to play the wood, try to carom the ball over into the 4-pin. No, that's not how he played it, but he's going to get it.
Oh, my.
I don't know if you saw it on camera, but Craig Holbrook kind of muttered to himself, wow, after he made the shot. Here comes the pin across to kick it out, and the spare. Looking for 3 marks in a row and $50 in bonus money.
Craig
4
Holbrook.
horsemen right side.
Sorry, Dick. He is the leading bowler in the WCBC this year. Now, this is as of the January tournament.
$50 in bonus money as he picks up the 4 horsemen.
As of this moment, the February tournaments have not been bowled. As the show, we tape the show usually the week before the actual WCBC tournaments. So we can't give you real up-to-date results just because of the way everything kind of is cycled and works out. But as of January, Craig Holbrook is your leader in the WCBC by 26 pins over next week's bowler, John Zappi.
By the way, for those of you who plan to attend our tapings, let me give you a change in a date. Our Tournament of Champions, which was originally to be taped the first week in April, has now been pushed back to March 25th. That will be the date we tape our Tournament of Champions here at Leda Lanes, the 25th of March. So those of you planning to attend, make a note of that on your calendar, and we'll look forward to seeing you here. There's a strike by Joe Stella. He buried that one in the pocket.
No doubt about that one.
After he comes out with a 6-box, needing a mark for 100, he buries the strike. We have in our triple strike jackpot, by the way, $975. And Joe gave it a run, throwing it a little bit light into the pocket. He is at 106 and 109, first string for Joe Stella. Off of his average, but a strong finish in the first string. Now here's Holbrook, who already has the lead in the first string. He's at 112 plus a ball. And that ball is 10. And that's another $25 in bonus money. Watch it again. Not much doubt about that. Big first string for Craig Holbrook. Threw that one off the head pin. But he still has another ball on the spare.
Held onto it a bit too long and sailed off to the right-hand side.
Again, missed the head pin, but good action. He puts 9 in the strike. He's at 150. 151 first string for Craig Holbrook. And a lead of 42 pins over Joe Stella as we head to string number 2. We're coming right back to Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, as we continue with Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Craig Holbrook with a 42-pin lead over Joe Stella after one string, 151 to 109. Will be first to bowl in our second string. And watch out, that pin's rolling back. No, it takes a right turn. It's not going to get there. 7-pin stands. Craig had 6 marks in the first string on his way to that 151 and $75 in bonus money. And it starts off with a mark. Bernie Susi sent me an email, Michael, and it's kind of interesting, and he's critical of a term that we use that's used so often in sports. And we'll talk about it. We talk about bowlers who have a big lead near the end of a match. How when they put an opposing bowler away, literally, we say they put the nail in the coffin, and he finds the remark brash, rude, and inconsiderate. It's a term that's used in just about every context in sports as a second spare is put up. In football, it's the coffin corner is nailed by the punter all the time, putting the ball inside the 5-yard line. It's just a term that I've heard so many years. I never think of it in terms of being insensitive, as Joe Stella with a 9 and a good first ball and an opportunity for a mark. Did he get it? Yes, he did, just barely.
He's lucky he had that piece of wood frozen up against the 4-pin. He just grazed it with enough power to knock it down for a spare in the first box.
Bernie, if that term offends you, I apologize. It's something that's been used in the world of sports ever since I can remember, will probably be used forever. Please don't take offense to it or buy it.
There are lots of terms and descriptions that are used to make things more colorful in speech. Obviously, it's not meant literally. And I think the English language would be pretty dull if we always said the same thing the same way every time.
Joe tried to slide that pin over. He went to the left and tried to get some action and couldn't do it. And he'll have to settle for a 10 box. So he'll lose more ground to Craig Holbrook, who's working on a double mark.
151 first game for Craig Holbrook, averaging 130. He's got quite a bowling resume. A story I want to share that he told me about he and Jeff Surratt, who's our top seed, Dick. Something that happened about 10 years ago when we come back from the break here in a moment or so.
Another chance for another mark for Holbrook and $50 in bonus money. He missed it.
Not by much. The ball didn't break at all. It was as straight as an arrow.
Threw it right in the same spot. A 9 box. He had a groove down there just past the 10 pin. So he misses an opportunity for more bonus money, misses an opportunity for another mark. And we'll try to start another streak right here. Spread eagle, and it is still a spread eagle as the 7-pin danced but didn't go down. It's off spot, but it's still standing.
New Hampshire State singles champ in the years 2000 and 2001.
Almost made it.
Here in the Granite State, and a doubles champ with Mike Poulin in 2002. Those two guys combined for 1452, which is just a few pins under the official record for doubles.
Nice 10 box for Craig Holbrook as he cleans up the spread eagle. Now Joe Stella with a chance to gain some ground. He's working against 2 open frames. Light in the pocket and almost had the complete back row. The 8-pin finally went down. Got the 7, the 9, and the 10. There's a couple of pieces of wood there that make this kind of interesting. This just may go. No, he had to hit that head wood. Well, did he? Yeah, I think he had to hit that front wood to take out the 9 and the 10 and hope something went to the left, but that's not how he played it. He'll settle for a 10 box.
Former teammate of Craig Holbrook, Joe Stella, Ed Woodside, who we saw last week, and Craig Holbrook all on the same team for a number of years.
Missed the head pin, 4 horsemen left side. No wood to help out. The 1, the 2, the 4, the 7. And there, oh, I was going to say he had the shot made. I was anticipating. It looked perfect.
But, you know, we see that all the time. What appears to be a perfect shot, you put it between the 1 and the 2, and the 4-pin goes right around the 7-pin.
The 7-pin finally goes. We go to the break with Craig Holbrook in the lead. We continue from Candlepin Stars and Stripes on WNDS TV right after this. Craig Holbrook ready to go. Lane 34 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dick Lutz with Mike Morin and our entire crew from WNDS TV. Happy to have you with us. Holbrook off the head pin.
All right, here's my Craig Holbrook story. About 10 years ago, he had just won the Massachusetts All Events, which is singles, doubles, and team all added up for a score. And that's really the top of the heap when you're bowling in the state tournament. Anyway, at that time, Jeff Surratt's father was also bowling as a professional, and Jeff was about 10 years old, Dick, at the time. He was at the bowling lanes and asked Craig Holbrook for his autograph. Well, Craig turned around, knowing that Jeff was a great crackerjack youth bowler after winning a couple tournaments already. He asked for his. This is 10 years ago, and now look at, he's one of the top-rated young bowlers, and we're going to see him next week. I'm sorry, 2 weeks from today. And possibly these two could face each other after exchanging autographs 10 years ago.
$10 for Holbrook in the 5th frame, and a spare opportunity here. 3, 6, 10 on the right, piece of wood, and there it goes, as the 8-pin was also standing, and it is down. So a spare for Craig Holbrook. Watch it again. The ball took out the 8-pin. Joe Stella off the head pin there. The 1-3-6. Picked the head pin cleanly. Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV, made possible by a terrific crew working here at Leda Lanes. Our director is Kevin LaFond. Our engineer is Keith Webb. Kevin Sheehan, Dean Zanello, and Jonathan Elias are working the cameras. Don Cronin's on replay. Cheryl Sylvia's on graphics, and Alex Kalistoff is on audio. And their efforts make it possible for you to watch the finest Candlepin bowlers in the world compete on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV.
Second 4 horsemen left side that Joe Stella has missed on lane 33 here in consecutive attempts on that lane. Takes a 10 this time, as he did in the 4th box.
Joe falling into a bit of a hole, trailing in the match by 53 pins, plus whatever Craig Holbrook gets on this ball. So it'll be about a 60-pin lead at the halfway point of the match. Holbrook almost a strike.
Great sweeping arm style of Craig Holbrook. Reminiscent of Peter Flynn, who also has 10 WCBC titles. He's been retired for a number of years, living out of the area. Two great lefties, and both number 2 on the all-time tournament list with 10 each.
He puts a 9 in the mark, which gives him a 62-pin lead, box to box, and then he throws another spare up on the board. Look at that 10-pin. It moved 3 inches. You've got the 2, the 4, the 6, and the 11.
You could probably put a ball between. Yeah, right, the 11. You could put a ball between the 6 and the 10 right there, probably. And he'll go for those 2. Let's see what happens.
And he'll take the 10, which was halfway off the deck.
Joe Stella laboring with just 1 mark this game so far.
But an opportunity here with the open frame thrown by Holbrook in the 8th frame. Joe can pick up some ground if he can put a double mark together, and he will miss the spare. Just missed it. The ball just did not hang on the alley long enough. And that'll be a 9 box for Joe Stella. He needed a mark there badly. Now he needs a mark even worse in the 8th frame of the 2nd string. He throws a good ball. He's got the 5 and the 10 with wood.
And a pretty nice arrangement for a difficult 5-10 split. Piece of wood right next to the 5.
Got a shot at it, missed it. A little too far to the right on the wood. So he'll be open in the 8th frame, and Craig Holbrook is building a big lead. 10 box, and the lead for Holbrook is 67 pins with 12 frames remaining in the match.
Craig is 41 years of age. He'll turn 42 coming up in May. May 1st is his birthday. Fountain setup. Been doing that for the Coca-Cola bottling company for many, many years. Enjoys softball, but doesn't play a whole lot of it anymore.
Got a nice email from Debbie and Dennis Gallant from Lunenburg, Massachusetts, and they say that they were watching a match few weeks ago, and they saw a pin flip over and land standing upright. I don't remember it.
I'm not sure I do either. It certainly can happen. There's no denying that. That certainly happens. Not sure I remember that. That would be fun to see on instant replay.
December 22nd, mixed doubles, I think it was.
And a split spare pickup for Craig Holbrook in the 10th frame. He's got a chance at 139. He'll have nearly 300 through 2 since he started with 151. He's on his way to a dandy series today.
Last paragraph of the email from Debbie and Dennis Gallant. Candlepin bowling is not boring because no one knows what the ball's going to do next, not to mention the talented people who make it all possible. Keep up the good work. We certainly enjoy our weekly game of Candlepin bowling. We appreciate hearing from Debbie and Dennis Gallant from Lunenburg, Massachusetts. A 135 for Craig Holbrook in the second string.
Very similar to the last hit that Joe Stella had on lane 33, but this time the 5-pin went down.
This time he made the spare. Well, pins continue to dance. Got the 1, 2, the 4 is nowhere near its original spot. Watch out. Oh, the ball almost came back and took it. It just did not stay on the lane long enough. And that'll be a 9-box for Joe to finish out with a 110 second string. A 67-pin lead for Craig Holbrook over Joe Stella. 286 to 219. Headed to the third and final string. We're coming back for that when we return to Leda Lanes in Nashua for Candlepin Stars and Stripes on WMDS TV. Ready to go. Joe Stella will be first to bowl, and he has a mountain to climb, trailing by 67 pins to Craig Holbrook, 286 to 219. A 151 first string, followed by a 135 for Craig Holbrook, a 109 and a 110 for Joe Stella. And Stella will not make the spare. And he has to settle for a 10-box. Joe Stella, a UPS courier driver in Somerville. Another good first ball, another good spare opportunity with the 6 and the 10 with no wood.
Had his high single right here at Leda Lanes last August on his 40th birthday.
Joe not able to convert, so he's not on mark here at all in the second string, in the second match. Last week he was on target in his 401 against Ed Woodside, but he has not found the range here this afternoon against Craig Holbrook.
I tell you what, 401 would not be good enough to win this week anyway, probably, against Craig Holbrook, who's already got 286. 115 puts him at 401.
And he starts off with a 9.
9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 is about right, with the 2 pins surrounded by wood.
Oh, my. Ouch.
Nothing is for certain in this game of Candlepin bowling. He starts off with a 9-box.
I think the Gallants made that point in a letter you read last
Sure, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, man.
Watch it again. It looks like it's a given, doesn't it? He hit the right side of the wood, and the wood went flying by it.
Needed to hit it more to the left, apparently.
Off the head pin here. And the pin in the back, the 9 pin, is now about the 8.5. It moved to the left a couple inches. You can see it between the pins. Missed the head pin. So he'll be open through 2 frames.
How's the prize money breakout this week, you ask? Our runner-up gets $375. Winner goes on to bowl John Zappy, the number 2 seed, next week.
7 box for Craig Holbrook, so Joe Stella picks up 4 pins in the first 2 boxes. Joey needs to mark. He needs to virtually run the table.
That's a bit of a break. Not much of one, though, pulling out the 6 pin, still the 5, 9, and 10 with some wood right in front of the whole mess.
Got a shot at it. There it is. Nice shot by Joe Stella.
I mean, he needs to run the table, Dick.
I think
any chance
pretty
here.
close to it. Needs to bowl a 150, 160 and have Holbrook bowl a 90.
Three, 6, 10, and no wood. We'll shoot this one from left to right and miss it.
Well, he's had a couple of opportunities to make marks. And have to settle for a 10 box. Craig Holbrook on lane 34. From right to left, he throws it right into the 1-3 pocket. Not going to make the spare. He'll be open through the first 3. From the angle of delivery, it's a little bit similar to Chris Sargent, but a little bit on the from an opposite standpoint. Sargent, the righty, bowls approaches it from left to right, while Holbrook, the lefty, approaches the alley from right to left. Kids are moving all over the place here this afternoon.
Moving but not falling.
No, the 2-pin, you can see the angle, you can see the distance between the 1 and the 2 right now, which makes it a more difficult shot. Got the 1, the 2, and the 10 with a piece of wood sitting in the middle there. 2-pin is a wild card here. I don't know what's going to happen. No, he didn't even. It's academic.
You could put the ball between those 2 again.
Yeah, he takes them both. 10 box, and we go to the break with Craig Holbrook in the lead by 55 pins. 6 boxes remain. We're coming back for the finale on Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua on WNDS TV. Joe Stella approaching lane 34 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, where Ray Simino and Sean Howard and the staff do a terrific job for all of the fans who come to our tapings each and every month. The coffee and donuts are here early. Joe Stella with a mark. And they just do it upright. It's a first-class operation at Leda Lanes in Nashua. If you have not bowled here, you ought to give it a try. Joe again threw it at the head pin. Deserved a better fate. 36 lanes, several pool tables, great accommodations, and a spare for Joe Stella. 2 marks in a row. Nice shot for Joe.
Joe hasn't left a pin standing yet this game. He had opens in the first, second, and fourth, but he's got spares in the other 3 frames. Not a pin standing for him.
You saw the ball ricochet off the piece of wood over to take out the 10 pin. Nicely done. Now Holbrook off the head pin, looking for his first mark of the string. He had a 151 in the first string, a 135 in the second string, and he can't buy a mark in the third string. And it's not going to be here either.
Meanwhile, Joe Stella's chipping away. He may need to take bigger chunks, though, each time. He still needs to run the table here, last 4 boxes.
That'll be a 10 box for Craig.
Well, he shaved about a third of the pins away now through 5 frames. Craig Holbrook looking for his first spare this game.
Right through the middle
Wow.
it goes, the spread eagle. So the door is open just a little bit for Joe Stella. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's mathematically anything's possible.
But you know he's got to be kicking himself, because if he'd have been within 30 or 40 pins, he'd get close to taking the lead now.
3 on the left go, leaving the 3, 6, 10 on the right. 6 open frames in a row for Craig Holbrook. Another 10 box. Now Joe Stella looks for some bonus money. The only bonus money we've given away, $75 to Craig Holbrook. That came in the second string. Joe on the head pin. Another spare opportunity. Puts 7 in the spare. This is a $50 shot for Joe Stella. Do you believe that?
Kind of dribbled the lane at the dribbled the ball rather at the line.
Even still, I thought he was going to make the shot.
Yeah.
It's $10. He needed the mark. $50 wouldn't have hurt, but he needed the mark. And I thought for sure he had it. That's off the head pin. And that's going to leave the 4 horsemen plus the 9 pin with no wood to help out. And the 9 pin still stands as he took care of the 4 horsemen that time. So an open frame when he could least afford it. And it'll be a 10 box. And that's just about going to do it. I think he's going to run out of frames.
Meanwhile, Craig Holbrook may not hit 400 after having a 286 two-game total.
Yeah, he needed 114 for 400. Look at what he's got here. The 7 and the 10 still stand. What a mess with a bunch of wood. Now there's enough wood there to make it interesting.
You go for the one on the right.
Yep,
I'm thinking,
absolutely.
You want to graze that, deflect it over to the left
That's
side.
what he's doing, and there it goes. It took out the 7, but not the 10. 7 open frames for Craig Holbrook. 9 box. Joe Stella's got to be talking to himself about what might have been.
No doubt about that. And still, Joe hasn't left the pin standing today. Just not enough of those frames have been marks. Only 3 out of the 8.
Look at this. Well, it ended up a little better than it was to begin with, but it's still not an easy one. It's the 3 and the 10 on the right, the 4 and the 7 on the left, with the wood between the 4 and the 7. Well, even though you didn't see it, trust me, he didn't make it. And that'll be a 10 box.
A 40-pin match lead for Craig Holbrook.
Got a reset lane 34. It came down with only 9 pins, so Joe Stella will wait for that as he tries to finish with an exclamation point.
Bonus ball, Dick, at the end of today's match, where the bowler tries to match up with a postcard sent from somebody in our viewing audience, is $130.
9-pin drop with the first ball for Joe Stella. And he'll make the spare. 4th spare of the string for Joe. As he finishes with a good 3rd string, it just won't be enough. Another good first ball in the pocket, putting 8 in the spare.
Looking more like the Joey Stella of last week.
And
nice.
A spare for Joe to close out with a double mark. A strike here would put $50 in his pocket.
Give him a 358 triple, and already Holbrook's at 360.
Six in the spare and a 135 3rd string for Joe Stella. 3-string total of 354. As Mike mentioned, Holbrook's already at 360. So after a 401 last week, Joe Stella not able to put those numbers on the board.
And Craig Holbrook has yet to mark the string.
That 401 might have won.
Yeah, and I was saying no way 401 would be good enough this week.
There's the first mark of the 3rd string for Craig Holbrook, and a little bit of a mock cheer from the crowd. So Craig will have $75 in bonus money. He'll have a strike in the 10th frame. He's at 104. He needs 10. He needs a strike here to get 400. To close out. He needed a 10. He needed the spare actually,
right.
I should say.
Well, he knocks them all down here. He's got 400 even.
Not going to happen. Put 6 in the mark and a 110 3rd string. and a three-string total of 396 for Craig Holbrook, and he will advance up the ladder to take on John Zappi next week. We will come back to meet our bowlers as Holbrook defeats Stella when we return to Leda Lanes in Nashua right after this on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Final score, Craig Holbrook defeats Joe Stella 396 to 354. Joe Stella with us. We give him the consolation check for $375. You can put that in your pocket. And we talked last week about how you didn't start on and you managed to find the range later in the match. It took a little while longer in this match, like the last couple of boxes of the third string, before you really found your target.
Yeah, I was trying to baby the ball in the pocket at the beginning because the pins are flying, so I figured a slow ball, and I lost all control. And then when I got on track, Craig had too much of a lead. Can't make no mistakes against Craig.
You bring up a good point. During the course of a match, how do you adjust to correct the mistakes that you think you're making to yourself to get yourself back on track?
Yeah, you find little things, you know, slow the ball down or speed it up, and then all about it. Sometimes it works, and then sometimes you're completely out of sync. And what happened with me was I was chasing Craig, and the more he was pulling away, the more things I was trying, and I was just falling more and more behind.
You were a Rookie of the Year in '88, '89. Craig the year before you. Craig has now got 10 Pro Tour titles. He'd like to shoot for 17 for Tommy Ulster. How would you handicap that possibility over the rest of his career?
I don't think he has enough time to get the rest of the 7. He has to win a lot of tournaments. He needs 7 more.
Yeah.
He needs 7 more, and he can do it, but he needs. I think it's gonna take a while. Those are hard to win. Those are a lot of good bowls, and everything has to go perfect.
Now, you're not terribly active. I'm not even sure if you're bowling in the WCBC at all.
No, not this year. I was in it, but I dropped out the last couple of years. I haven't been in it.
It takes a lot of your time, and it's a lot of running around, but it's a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie, because you end up crossing paths with these guys on the TV show.
Exactly. Yep. It takes a lot of time, and I do see all the guys, and but the traveling there's a lot of traveling going on, and you know you work all week, hard all week, and then you look forward to the weekends, and I just dropped out of that. And plus my kids are bowling now too, so I like to go watch them bowl.
That takes a little bit of your time too, doesn't it? Joe, congratulations to you. Thank you very much.
See you back.
Joe Stella, our runner-up here this afternoon. And now let's do the bonus ball contest. We'll try to give you at home a chance to win some cash. Craig Holbrook, our winner, will step up to lane 33, and he'll bowl a ball, and we'll see if we can match him up with a winner at home. Go ahead, Craig. And it is almost all of them. It's a 9. Michael, let's see what we've got. We've got Phyllis Walsh from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and she said 9. It's a winner. Is it $130?
$130.
$130 in the bonus ball contest for Phyllis Walsh from Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Congratulations.
What's your
to
commission
Phyllis.
on that now?
And we'll be sending off that. So Craig Holbrook joins us, and Mike and I were mentioning from the start of the match, you get a lot of action on your ball all the time. Is that the way it always is, or is it something that you've done over the years to create that kind of action?
Well, it's a little bit of a backspin on it. I don't really throw as hard as some of the guys do. No, it's just unusually active today. Some days it's dead. You have some really bad ones.
Like in that third string, it did quiet it down a little bit.
Yes, it did.
Now, is there something, you had a big lead. Is it something that you did? Do you tend to lay back? Do you subconsciously back off a little bit?
No, I'm trying to go hard all the time. All the time. Never let up. Yeah.
Subconsciously, though, with the big lead, do you think that human nature kicks in?
Maybe. That's possible. Yeah.
Well, here's your opportunity to rebut the comments from Joe Stella. 17 tour titles is quite an accomplishment. Tommy Ulster has that. You're number 2, tied with Peter Flynn at 10. In very good company. How many years conceivably would it take to get to 17?
Oh, 11 or 12.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have enough. He could be right. I think he handicapped it pretty well.
Do you miss Peter Flynn? I mean, he was a guy that seriously had a style not unlike yours.
Yes. Yeah, I do miss him. Yeah.
So he's living down south, of course, not actively in Candlepin bowling. Now, you, of course, have won a number of state titles here in New Hampshire, both singles and doubles. You and Mike Poulin almost set a doubles record. What keeps you from moving from Bridgewater up to the Granite State?
Well, New Hampshire has an open state tournament. Massachusetts doesn't. So with the handicaps and everything, I almost have to bowl 800 for 5 strings just to compete with those bowlers. So actually, New Hampshire's a lot of fun. They treat us really well.
Do you find the lanes here in Nashua at Leda Lanes are good for your game? Are you
Yes,
successful
they are.
here?
Yes.
You like
I
it?
have a lot
Why?
of
What
fun
makes
here.
it different here?
I think the lanes actually break a little here. Some houses I don't know if they put oil or whatever it is on there, my ball will end up going straight. And I need like a little 3 or 4 inch tail at the end for the ball to really mix or break them
For
up.
it to explode. It does seem to explode
and they
at the
do
end, yeah.
here. The ball turns a lot here. It's nice.
Interesting.
As we tape this in February, you're the top guy in the WCBC, and next week you take on the man who's number 2.
Right, yeah. He's been chasing me the whole time, so that should be fun.
Craig, thanks very much. Congratulations to you.
See you next week.
$75 in bonus money, $50 for having the high string in the match as well for Craig Holbrook, and up the ladder we go.
That's right. John Zappi, the number 2 WCBC bowler as of today's taping in February, takes on the man you just saw, Craig Holbrook, next week.
We'll look forward to seeing you as well. For Mike Morin and our entire crew from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, it's Craig Holbrook and John Zappi next week. I'm Dick Lutz. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. And as our friends at Leda Lanes always like to remind you, let's go!